What's up, everybody, and welcome to the final video of my Halloween Kills extravaganza that has been going on for the past week plus. I have done so much coverage with the Halloween franchise now that it's spooky season that it's good to finally get to the end of it. So if you guys are Halloween fans, not only have I reviewed the movie both in spoiler and spoiler-free fashions, but I've also re-ranked all of the masks, like this one right here. I've re-ranked all of the Michael Myers actors. I have re-ranked the franchise now that we have a new film. And now we're going to be ending on my top 10 moments from the Halloween franchise. Either the scariest, the most memorable, or the most badass moments from this entire franchise. And if you watch this video and you think to yourself, I'm gonna drop a comment and say, hey Cody, where was this at? Where was this scene? Where was this moment? It's probably in the companion video. I'm also doing a companion video for this that's gonna be exclusive on my Patreon page, which is another 10 awesome moments from the Halloween franchise. So you can join over at my Patreon page. The link is down in the video description below at any level and get access to that video. Patreon is the best way to help this channel out. It's what literally keeps the lights on and adds to my production value behind the scenes. And you get exclusive content just like today and exclusive perks throughout the entire month for joining. So please check that out. Consider doing that, and I appreciate it. But as far as this list, we'll go ahead and kick it off with number 10. And number 10 best Halloween moments is the ending of the 1978 film, where Loomis shoots him 6 times. And then, that was more Arnold Schwarzenegger than Dr. Loomis, but he shoots Michael Myers. Michael Myers falls backwards over the railing, over the balcony, doosh, hits the ground, and then everything is good, everything is done, the evil has been vanquished. Right? Right? Wrong. Dr. Loomis walks to the balcony, looks down at the ground, and Michael is gone. Vanished, disappeared into the night, and you get that great classic Halloween score. It totally reinforces everything that was the original intent of the character with this ending, that he is human, but he is supernatural. He moves like nature, he moves like the wind. He's here and then he's not. And it was just a phenomenal way to end that film. I mean, you know, of course, we all know it turned into a gigantic franchise. And I think that there is a little tiny bit of missed opportunity to leave this as a one and done. You know, when people walked out of this movie in 1978 and they didn't even get the satisfaction of knowing that the evil that just terrified them for the past 90 minutes was vanquished by the end, and he's just out there waiting. That was a ballsy and perfect way to end the film, and one of the best moments of this franchise for sure. Number 9 is going to be that long tracking shot from Halloween 2018 for a number of reasons. I mean, first of all, the tracking shot itself is something that we had not really seen done in the Halloween franchise before, and it's a very cool sequence. Obviously, you know that there's little cuts here and there that they've very sneakily hid in this shot, but as far as you're watching, it looks like it was all done in one take. And just seeing Michael go from house to house to house in one long tracking shot, just killing random Haddonfield citizens, not only is what Michael does, but it was just a very stylistically cool thing to do in a modern Halloween film that we had not seen before. But what was also great about this scene was this is the first time that we see Michael Myers unleashed on Haddonfield in this film. And, you know, as far as this timeline, the first time in 40 years that we have seen that. You know, we have him kill the people at the gas station, we have him retrieve his mask, and then this, whenever he is in the middle of Haddonfield, looking around in the dark as trick-or-treaters are flocking the streets, you get that great score that starts, and he's just looking around and is like, you know what, that house seems good, walks in, kills somebody, you know, that one looks pretty good too, walks in, kills somebody. It's just a really great sequence, and it's one of the biggest standout sequences in Halloween 2018. Coming in at number 8 is going to be when Michael emerges from the burning Strode compound in the first act of Halloween Kills. I still cannot get this shot out of my head. You know, I had my share of problems with Halloween Kills, but this was one of the many moments in the first 20-25 minutes of this movie that had me on cloud 9. I mean, as frustrated as I was with the ending of Halloween 2018, and as unsatisfied as I was for that being a conclusion, the fact that it leads to this makes it all better, because having this house be on fire at the end of that film and not knowing how Michael is going to escape this and have it be plausible, and you have these firefighters come onto the scene and inadvertently let him out, and just that shot whenever it's just darkness except for the light of the inferno going on in this house, and everybody's outside cleaning up, and they're just like, what the fuck is that? And you just see this evil emerge from the house slowly and then grab that pick and is like, all right, bitches, it's time to go. That is just such a badass entrance for a character. I mean, it's almost like a WWF entrance or something, where it's like, in the red corner, Michael fucking Myers. I mean, everything about this as the intro to the villain of our movie could not be better. It's one of the most beautiful shots in that movie. It's an iconic shot. I mean, as much as I have issues with that movie, there are posters with Michael standing in that burning doorway that I would love to have on my wall, just because it's such a fucking awesome image. Number 7 is from the original Halloween 2 in 1981, I believe. And that is when Michael sticks the scalpel into the back of the nurse and then just lifts her up with one arm. And the reason why this is so awesome and iconic for me is because it's one of those times in the early, timeline of this franchise that really shows the strength of Michael. Like, you get a little bit of that with Bob in the first movie, but this was a moment that really stood out to me in the second film, to where, I mean, like, he's literally holding her from a little tiny piece of steel and just lifts her completely off of her feet. The shoes kind of fall down and she's sitting there like this, and he's just right in front of Laurie like, Daddy's back, bitch, you better run. That whole sequence to me is one of the most iconic parts of Halloween 2, and one of the reasons why I bumped up Halloween 2 recently in my ranking, because so many moments like that in this original sequel stick out to me. Like, when I think of Michael Myers moments, there's a collection of scenes that come into my head, and this is one of them that is always one of the first. It's just the true representation of how terrifying Michael Myers can be. Number 6 is going to be one of the many great little monologues that we get from Dr. Loomis in 1978, and it's going to be the Blackest Eyes speech. One of the brilliant things that they did in 1978 was they had a character like Loomis, played by the great Donald Pleasance, and he is what gives you all of the reasons to fear Michael Myers. I mean, without him, it's just a kid that went nuts one day and escaped later on whenever he was a young adult. And, Michael Myers doesn't talk. He doesn't really have any emotion. The whole purpose of the character is just blank, emotionless. And whenever you get these scenes where Dr. Loomis is trying to convince Sheriff Brackett or anybody else that will listen what level of evil is on your little town right now, what you should be afraid of right now in the shadows, it totally works.
I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale, emotionless face and the blackest eyes. The devil's eyes.
They very fine line in doing some expositional dialogue like that, but they were brilliant the way that they did it in 1978, where he talks about this kid that I spent years trying to reach and then years trying to keep locked up because I realized there was nothing behind those eyes but pure evil. That entire speech encapsulates why Michael Myers is still a horror icon 40 plus years later. Number 5 might be an unpopular pick, but it's starting to become more of a popular pick as time goes on, so I'm going to keep holding that torch, holding the baton for Halloween 3 Season of the Witch. And this is the moment when the Silver Shamrock ad first shows its power, first shows what its intentions is, where you get this family in this little testing room and the kid's got the pumpkin mask on, and you get that ad that comes on the TV, happy Halloween. And he starts to grab his mask and starts to convulge, and he's on the ground, and the parents are like, what the hell is going on? And it literally just melts his skull, and snakes and bugs and vermin and reptiles start coming out of his mask and kills his parents. This movie is so fucking awesome. This movie is gnarly. I think it's a shame that it doesn't quite get the credit that it deserves because they decided to slap the name Halloween in front of it. There's some people that legitimately don't like the movie. That's fair. But, over time, it's starting to get more of a cult following. And just this entire plot of Colonel Cochran wanting to murder as many children that he possibly can on Halloween night with this ad in these masks and just melting the skulls of children so that things will come out and murder the rest of their family all across the world. You would get locked up just for writing that idea down nowadays. Number 4 is going to be from Halloween 2018, and it is going to be the moment when Michael is finally reunited with his mask. You know, he gets it stuck in front of him almost like a carrot at the beginning of the movie, finds these podcasters, kills everybody at this gas station, and then you get this amazing shot where he opens up the trunk and finds the mask, puts it back on for the first time in 40 years, and it is aged and kind of deteriorated just like him over that time where he's not been able to go out and play, if you will. And just the shot when he puts the mask back on and shuts the trunk and just looks out on Haddonfield like, yeah, motherfuckers, it's time again. It's time to play. I love that shot. Like, that was one of the moments in the movie when I first saw it where I was just like, oh, here we go. And it's still amazing. Like, I love that mask. I love that mask to death. That is one of, by far, the greatest versions of the Michael Myers masks. I just love how the age and the deterioration, everything just kind of adds to the creep factor for me. So when you finally get in this movie that was so highly anticipated, the moment where the two are reunited, it's just one of the best moments of the movie. Number 3 is actually going to keep it with Halloween 2018, and it's going to be one of my favorite kills in this entire franchise, and that's the Jackolantern head. I mean, when you get these two stupid cops that I still hold strong are ridiculous characters and the dialogue was terrible, but nonetheless, these two random cops that are just parked outside of Laurie's house, and Michael comes upon them, and you don't see anything that happens. You only see the aftermath. And he pulls the cop car up to the front of Laurie's house, and Ray comes outside wondering, like, you know, hey, what's going on, officer? And he looks inside, and one of them is dead with something impaled in their throat. I can't remember what it was. And he's holding a head, and it's the decapitated skull of the other cop that had his eyes and mouth and everything carved out to look like a jack-o'-lantern, and has a flashlight stuck in his open throat cavity. And it's just an awesome image. I mean, just when you start thinking about how long and how meticulous Michael had to sit there and do this, it makes it all the more disgusting and all the more effective, where you're like, dude, like, Michael's usually a fast, efficient kind of killer where he kills somebody and moves on, goes to somebody else. He took his time with this guy. He took a lot of time with this guy. And just the image of a skull being carved into a jack-o'-lantern to match the themes of Halloween and everything, that was a brilliant kill to me. Like, that was one of the moments where I'm like, my God, like, please more of that in the next 2 movies. Please more of that. Coming in at number 2 is my preferred ending of my Halloween timeline, franchise, storyline, whatever you want to call it. And, the jury's out until Ends comes out, but this is my preferred ending. And that is when Laurie decapitates Myers at the end of Halloween H2O. I refuse to acknowledge resurrection. To me, this is an ending. This is not, the ambulance driver or whatever the fuck they tried to tell you this was. This was Myers. As far as I'm concerned, this was Myers. Cut to black, roll credits, nothing comes after this. H2O is a movie that I defend. I certainly understand some of the issues that people have with it. I don't think it deserves near the amount of hate that it does get, but nonetheless, it's a movie that I have always loved. It was the first Halloween movie I saw in theaters. I've always enjoyed it ever since then. And despite some of the mask debacle, despite not necessarily having the best Myers performance, and people could very easily argue that it doesn't feel necessarily like a Halloween movie because it's set in California and the score is different, and all of that modern, late 90s, 2000s, early 2000s style that horror had certainly is here to a certain extent. But I really enjoy the story of H2O. I actually prefer this version of a broken Laurie Strode to the version that we're getting in the current trilogy. And I think it's more believable. I think it's more effective. And I liked all the rest of the cast. And I think that Michael, despite not being top dog, despite not being top level Michael Myers, is pretty effective in this movie. So when you get a movie that I really enjoy, that I'm on board with, you get this third act where Laurie's tired of this shit and she's going to take on Myers head on, which is awesome all on its own. And then you get all the way to the ending where he's finally pinned, and you get this little tender moment where he's reaching out for her, and she kind of hesitates to reach out for him too because he's been such a big part of her life you know, for the worst certainly, but he's been a big part of her life for so long. And then she kind of hesitates for a moment, looks at him, and then just whack! And takes his head off, and it just rolls, and all you see is the mask and, unfortunately, the eyes. I love this ending. I think that it's the badass way to close out that original timeline of films. That is my preferred timeline, Halloween 1, Halloween 2, H2O, and it's because of how awesome it ends with this decapitation. But number one to me is a moment that not only is one of the most genuinely terrifying moments with Michael Myers in the Halloween franchise, but it's a moment that totally encapsulates what I love about the character and the version of the character and the approach of the character that I prefer. And it's the moment in the original film when Laurie is backed up against a wall right next to an open closet or an open room, and all you see is a doorway filled with darkness. And slowly you start to see Michael Myers emerge out of the darkness. Now, I love the behind the scenes of how they achieve this with just getting a small little bulb on a dimmer and slowly turning it up. And you know, the higher quality that we continue to get of these movies with 4K and eventually 8K and 35K, whatever it's going to go to, kind of makes the effectiveness of this scene a little bit diminished. But you know, when you watch this film and you really start to believe in this supernatural element of Michael Myers and the fact that he is always there, he's never gone, he's here 1 minute and then he's over here, and you can never really keep a handle on what this guy is, who he is, or where he is. This scene totally embodies all of that with just a light bulb dimmer. And I just think that it's great to where you're with her to where you feel safe for a moment, and then just that score cue kicks, and then just that mask slowly starts to come in out of that blue darkness. To me, that one moment is what I think of when I think of Michael Myers. Well, that's it, guys. That is my top 10 moments from the Halloween franchise. What are your favorite moments? Let me know down below. Give me some reasons as well of why those moments are effective for you. If you want to give me a top 3, that's fine as well. If there was a moment on this franchise that I did not put in this video, it's probably on that companion video, so please consider checking out my Patreon page with the link down below. It really is the best way to support this channel, and there's a lot of cool things that I try to do exclusively for my patrons for supporting me on a financial level, like giving a separate video just for them. So thank you for your consideration for that. Please like and share this video and hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber, so you can check out all of the Halloween content that I've posted over the past couple of weeks. And for the rest of Halloween, we're about to get into the Crow franchise, and then we're leading into 31 on 31, which is a big ranking video of a bunch of different horror franchises that we do annually on this channel, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely do not miss out on that. Hit the subscribe button before you click off of this video. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, remember, opinions are like assholes, but that doesn't mean that you have to be.